In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to A Place at the Table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
Welcome to A Place at the Table. Miss me?
Yes.
I know I should say that the feeling is mutual, but I return to complain about Niger, my Niger, and I'm asking why we behave as though our natural habitat is the zoo.
Good to have you back, Kate.
Thank you, Yinka.
I miss you.
Oh, stop! I'm blushing.
Okay, for me, I've taken to citizens' education. Funke, are you ready to be educated about AMCON?
Ready? I am so waiting for you to do this, and I'm looking forward to what you have to say. And speaking of lectures, I'm tackling the new policy that bars under 18-year-olds from sitting for JAM or similar entrance exams. I'm making a case for Nigeria's exceptional children.
I missed you, Kate.
I miss you too, sis.
Looks like you've experienced that factory reset I keep talking about.
Honestly.
Funke, permit me to pick up the baton where you stop. I'll be speaking on our culture of taking educational shortcuts.
Aisha, someone needed to take on this topic. Glad you and Funke rose to the challenge. Kate, hey, at least you managed to get a visa to travel. I am venting on the visa application racket in Nigeria. You could say it's where the shoe pinches.
In fact, Bright, that shoe is pinching all of us. Not be time for high heels now. You can see I'm wearing flats even. It's high time we all put our foot down on some issues. It is advisable to travel the world, or to as many places as one can afford to see how others function in their society, to see how orderliness can indeed be a mindset that can be imbibed. One thing I have seen is the power of the pedestrians in developed countries, as opposed to here where you're not driving a car. You are considered persona non grata. You are fodder, and cyclists are not left out. Let's not even mention or go near the physically challenged. The Nigeria Highway Code states you have no right of way at a pedestrian crossing or zebra crossing until you have stepped on it. When you do, traffic should give way to you. And I boldly state that this is a complete fallacy. The pedestrian has no rights whatsoever and is even dared to step on the faded zebra stripes if they're so emboldened. Abroad, the pedestrian and even animals are respected. An incident occurred while I was being driven on the expressway in a province in Canada. The traffic lights suddenly stopped working for a bit. Wait for it. There was no chaos, no hassle, no disruption to the movement of traffic. Everyone from each junction just took turns to wait for two cars from each lane to drive through before the next lane. No traffic warden jumped in. No physically challenged person on his roller skate rolled in to organize people. But here, I'm asking, and I want answers. Why do we behave like the zoo should be our natural habitat? I shall start with you.
But there's law and order in the zoo now. The zoo is better.
Actually,
yes, now you can't do anyhow in the zoo.
So
like in the maybe the forest or something. Because
forest.
That's where everything. Because
I changed it to forest.
Exactly. When we always talk about this zoo, everything is done the way orderly, the way it should be. I think it's just simple things.
When I say zoo, I mean you want structure. You want to be herded about. I'm not saying. I'm saying you need.
People need.
Yeah.
No, but that's life. People have to be. Even the place that you went to is because they know there is punishment for bad behavior. And I'll give you something I read, I think about 2 days ago. Someone said he went for honeymoon in Italy, and then it's a year after the honeymoon, and he got a traffic fine sent to his email. And he was asking, should he pay? Or what is it if he, what's the consequences if he doesn't pay? But that tells you something. something he did, an offense he did almost a year ago, he's getting something in his email. So all those people that you see in that province you went to, it's a zoo. It's a structured zoo where people are told what to do, how to do it. And if you behave in any way, you're going to get that punishment. And so people then are forced to behave. Human beings don't want to do the right thing. That's why those same people that are in that province, bring them to Nigeria and give them 3 weeks. They will do worse than what is happening.
And
here.
what about the rights of the pedestrian? Nobody respects
in Nigeria,
them.
they don't respect it. So the thing is that we don't have respect in Nigeria. It's not in our culture. What we respect is big manism, who is big, who is big car, who is this person. We don't have that respect for human being. And I'll tell you, it starts from our houses. You will see children insulting the house help in their, the domestic staff that their parents have. Like with my kids, I told them, you see, anybody that is working for me is working for me and not for you. And you have no right to make any demands on them.
So I think the key thing here is we have this ideology that when issues like this are raised or brought up, people will say we have bigger problems. Right? There's unemployment, there's poverty.
But it's these little things that
but what they don't understand that it's the society, the combination of the dysfunctionality in society is what creates all the big problems, right? All these things that the big problem just appeared, but it's just tiny little things. The fact that the pedestrian, you can't walk freely in the pedestrian road, you might get to work late. The amount of time that you spend working, the productivity level is low. So all of these tiny little things is the problem. You're talking about pedestrian. Have you been to Abuja? City center, cows have their own. Like literally, they are stopping like the main road. Like you see National Assembly area, what do you call it? Eagle Square. There are cows
just crossing
the road. Hundreds of them.
Are you kidding?
No.
And she knows that.
No, yeah.
What are they doing in the city
What are they doing in the
City
city?
center. I'm saying National Assembly, where you have all the ministries. Cows are passing.
What has Mr. Wike got to say about this cow issue?
I'm talking about pedestrian. The cows have more rights in Abuja than human beings. So I'm talking about the capital city where the president is. So I think the solution still comes down to education, right? And it has to be, like, I can't remember being taught in school about pedestrian road, red light, code. All of those things. No, right? It has to be taught in school. Like people need to, we just go into society and we just flow with what we see. And what we see is based on what the people ahead of us have been doing. So we just go with the flow. Like you said, I felt for the same thing when I was in London one time. Because I was like, I was just chilling on this aisle, and they're like, guys, if you're not moving, go to this side. But I didn't know that.
You see, we have all these uniformed men. We have FRSC, we have KAI, we have Last Mile, we have those ones.
NSPCD.
Those ones who wear grey uniform. They're all over the place, but you see, we still don't have discipline. Why? Because it has to do with us, the people. And that's because we have jettisoned the values that Nigerians had in the 80s, the early 90s. We've sort of evolved into lawlessness. So I think where we should start is, like you said in the past, the man in the mirror. How am I contributing to the lawlessness and the chaos in the society? It's always good to point at somebody, but as you point, 4 are pointing back at you, right? So how am I? And then again, about what we do, my Mercedes is bigger than yours. We profile a lot. That's why you won't find us on the pedestrian lane. We want to brandish our latest version of the SUV. We want to just let you know that, look, we arrived at the same time. So don't booger me with your own arrival. So we have to come to a point where it doesn't matter whether I'm riding a bicycle. It doesn't matter whether I'm riding a motorbike. What matters is what I have to give to the betterment of the society.
Well, it comes down to, for me, 3 things. And I think we've mentioned them on this table. Civic education. It's a must.
Yeah.
We must have that education. And it must be on multi-layered level.
Yes.
It has to be in school, for children to start. It has also to be for adults as well. Okay? I mean, today, if I stop at the zebra crossing for somebody to cross, they'll be looking at me and I'll be looking at them.
Or they even yeah.
because they don't know what to do.
Yes, they don't know.
You know, and I've had to do this many times to say,
You just
Yeah, that's what I do. It's true, I do that.
all right,
actually,
and
yeah.
you see that you literally see the shock.
Yes, every time. Yes, like you're actually waiting for me.
Sometimes
And
you're
it puts
waiting.
pressure. It's like,
But you
oh
see, the
my
thing is
God,
this.
you're waiting for me.
They need to be on the pedestrian needs to know the definition of right of way.
That's true.
You know, my son is a teenager. He's just 17, and he was teaching me because I was taking a walk with him, and I was about to cross the street, and then he just went ahead, and I stood where I was, and he said, "Dad, what are you waiting for?" I said, "I'm waiting for the car to pass."
No, yeah.
You have the right of way, okay? And so people need to be educated about this. There's a need for what I call consequence advocacy.
That's right.
Okay? We must look at it from the point that if you break the law, that is, what's happening in Abuja, for instance, Abuja has a very terrible reputation. They don't keep to traffic lights.
That's true.
All right?
Yeah.
There has to
drive
be
in Abuja. I
consequences, for that. And it starts also by us, the people, modeling the right behavior. I'll end with this. As I was driving down here, I was counting all the pedestrian bridges and to see how many people were actually waiting under the pedestrian bridge to cross.
Yes.
And I saw that there were more people under the pedestrian bridge than those
actually using.
So
everywhere.
The right behavior must be modeled, okay, at all levels. And when we do that, maybe we can stop this.
Well, to me, it's not rocket science. And yet, it seems to be a confounding problem. Yinka, you're up next. Perhaps you'll be speaking some common sense into this madness and mayhem.
That's a heavy mantle to place on my shoulders.
Keep it now.
Okay. Anyway, like you, I present us with the problem and even options. Ultimately, it takes a joint effort. We're all in it together. Facing a serious threat to the stability of the financial system, the government in June 2010, through an act of parliament, established the asset management company AMCON, with the primary objectives of purchasing non-performing loans, aka toxic loans, from Nigerian banks, and recapitalization of banks that were struggling to meet their capital requirements. AMCON subsequently purchased over 12,000 eligible bank assets, worth 3.8 trillion, from 22 banks for a purchase price of 1.8 trillion. And they equally injected 2.2 trillion into 10 banks, bringing their net book value to zero. Out of the 3.8 trillion toxic loans bought, 84% belong to 350 accounts. The direct impact of that action was a protection of about 3.6 trillion depositors fund and over 14,000 jobs saved. AMCON has so far been able to recover 1.4 trillion out of the initial 1.8 trillion. Unfortunately, that is not enough. Its liability of over 5 trillion was procured through bonds and loans from the CBN at an average rate of 11%. As of December 2023, total liabilities stood at 5.7 trillion, while total assets were 1.1 trillion, resulting in a negative shareholders' equity of 4.6 trillion, which in financial terms means AMCON is technically insolvent. AMCON only survives today because of the sinking fund contributions from banks. So how does this concern you? At the onset, AMCON had a lifespan of 10 years. However, the 2019 amendment removed the deadline and didn't specify the next wound-down date, but it was generally expected that it would wound down in 2024. Globally, asset resolution companies are known to have short lifespans, so this is not unusual. But the question is, what happens if AMCON is unable to liquidate its obligation? Well, the answer is this. Whatever is left of the loan would either be absorbed by the CBN or divided between the CBN and the NDIC. The simple way to explain this is the CBN may have to write off the loans, meaning that taxpayer will bear the liability incurred largely by 350 debtors. The alternative is that AMCON might have to continue in perpetuity. Given the cost, what do you think is the way forward? Let's debate.
This one Someone went over
I'll
my
tell you
head,
the
though.
truth, right? In the past, when I heard AMCON, it was just over my head because I really didn't even understand what they were doing. I guess I represent quite a number of Nigerians. Before I forget, almost the last thing you said, taxpayers will bear the liability. Please don't let us bear the liability. We have enough.
I'll wait for my turn.
on our head. But then, if you've been listening to the news, you hear that Bill Gates was saying that Nigeria does not collect enough.
Who asked him?
Were you there? In my mind, I was like, who is this one? What is all this? You know, but seriously, between June 2010 to 2020, that's 10 years.
Yes.
Do you mean to say really that just 350 accounts were what AMCON worked on in 14 years?
No. I mean, the fact is they bought over 12,000.
12,000, you said 12,000.
Non-performing loans.
Right.
But 84% of that, of the amount they bought, okay, is only incurred by 350 accounts. So they bought over 12,000 accounts, but only 350 accounts out of that 12,000 represent 84% of the amount.
Oh,
they
wow.
loaned.
Meaning
the largest amount of
Exactly.
this thing.
Okay.
The 350.
Moving on
Yes.
quickly, why is the CBN vacillating about winding down AMCON?
Well, because, I mean,
They're only supposed to have
They're not
operated
supposed-
to come in, save the day.
the
and go
idea
back to
was
their-
the financial system was about to collapse. You know, you had all these loans that were not performing, okay? The debtors cannot pay back. And the financial system was about to collapse. So the CBN, in his own wisdom at that time, started this AMCON and through an act of parliament, established it. And the CBN then, through bonds and all that, essentially gave to AMCON the amount to which they bought this debt from the banks. So they bought it at discount. So they are supposed to go after the debtors and collect the money. But we're going.
So just to really understand, because for me, I think I need to understand better before I can, give a perspective. So you go to the bank, right? You get money from the bank.
Yes.
To do some kind of business. For example, I think the first time I heard about AMCON was Silverbird, when they took over Silverbird in Abuja. That was the first time I was like, what's going on? So let's say Silverbird, Ben Bruce goes to the bank, get money to build the Silverbird, where it's not able to pay back. And then so AMCON goes to the bank and buy
Silverbird's debt.
Silverbird's debt
At a discount.
So he pays Silverbird, he pays the bank, whatever
pays the
Silverbird
bank. Yes.
is owing, and then take over Silverbird. And then put the Silverbird in the market. What happens?
So it tries to run the business so that Silverbird can pay back.
Can pay
to AMCON.
Can I just come in?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, in Nigeria, everything, I don't know whether I should use the word bastardized, in a way. People, you see good intentions, you see things that are done for the betterment of the nation, but certain people we go in and then use it for their own good. And so we have a situation, for me, AMCON is almost like that NNPC. There is a body.
Hey, this woman, you pipped my page. That's what
There is a body.
She's used to doing that.
You understand? So it's a burden on the nation. So this is what happens. I'm a businesswoman, and that's why the 350, only few people out of the 200 and something, after the how many 12,000 that we have, out of the how many accounts that Nigerians owe within, out of the 12,000, 350, right? But look at the generality of us. People are doing business. You collect money, you pay back. So some of them, what I see happening is the fact that I know my business is worth 2 billion naira. I'll go and borrow 20 billion naira.
Jesus.
And deliberately, it's not working now. AMCON will take it over. Because more or less, that's almost as if the racket that it's
So there is a lot of corruption.
Yes, there's a lot of corruption. And you see a lot of even this person, what's his name? The one that, something Momo, Jimo, that had an airline.
Yes, and a hotel.
So you're wondering what's going on. So a few people are just sitting down and they're just passing this money. I think Jimo or something, Ibrahim or something like that. There was this thing. At the end of the day,
I'm trying to remember his first name.
Okay, so let's come back to the table. Let's come back too. So, but the thing is, AMCON was done with all the good intentions to help out, because, of course, when banks go down because of these toxic loans, it affects a lot of things, jobs and all of that. You're able to help them, and it's not only in Nigeria, in other countries. I think US did something, like that, with even with the this automobile industry. Was it when Obama came in and stuff like
build
that?
Build out banks and also
bailouts.
That's what it's supposed to be done. But we have people, at the end of the day, people who will just use it anyhow, and we end up suffering. But I think we need to get to a place where we are cutting our losses and do away with AMCON.
Yeah, but
so
it's not just... It's not just cutting the losses, it's the fact that the taxpayer,
or the taxpayer will always have to
are going to bear the brunt that carry a load. It's not like what's it called concern me? And like before I forget, I said it reminds, when you were talking about the profit and the debt, I said it reminds me of NNPC owing huge debt despite celebration of profits. There's no win anywhere. You are owing, you are a debtor. When I heard about AMCON, I actually saw them as like a Voltron. That was what came into my mind, that they were coming to save the day. You know the advert now. Form the blazing sword and take care of everyone. But if their time is up, their time is up. My only worry is that who is going to write it off? Can they just write it off and leave it without having to
I think they're selling the assets though. I remember Silverbird was
without having to common man, because some young man, I don't know, he's already said they should increase that to 10%.
The value of the assets.
Did you see that?
I saw him, I said, I'm not in for you.
No, just to digress, sorry, please.
Well
Somebody needs to tell him that every one of us, we are all government in our family.
Yes.
He doesn't understand.
He doesn't.
You
and
produce your own electricity, your own security of this.
So I've forgotten your name. Don't do it. Don't. Please don't.
Taiwo Idele.
Taiwo, 10% is much. We are under a lot of strain. A lot of pressure. We are being choked now. So that your advice, when things are better, you can come back. Come back another day. Yeah? Thanks.
Okay.
Kilode. Sorry.
I think the general idea is that Nigeria just needs to be informed. You need to know, because this kind of things, they fly under the radar. That very soon, if the CBN takes over and writes off AMCON debt, we are the ones.
We the people.
Please don't kill us now.
On top of the one they go through like this too.
We all shoulder the consequences of decision making. So we have no option but to get involved in the decision making process.
That's right.
Right, Funke?
That's right, Yinka. One way or the other, we're in it together. Even and especially as it concerns investing in our children. Many Nigerians have weighed on the contentious issue of the 18-year-old age limit for school certificates and JAMB exams. And the most compelling argument in support of it was by columnist Farouk Peroge, who argued that it is no new law, but an enforcement of an extant law which has been serially violated by over-eager parents, in his words. According to him, it is the global standard in the US to enter the university between ages 18 and 19 years. Another columnist, Lasisi Olagunju, argued against it, using the Nigerian constitution and Nigeria's mathematics genius, Omololu Oluloyo, who obtained his PhD in applied mathematics at age 26. He reminds us that a 2013 debate in the Senate, which privileged child marriage, made marriage the maturity marker in Nigeria, not age. In addition to the gap year concept, I am making a case for Nigeria's exceptional children with this list of 5. First one, 10-year-old Ebziba Akinwale, who broke world record for the longest fiction novel written by a child, titled Chronicles of the Timekeepers, whisked away. 10-year-old Esther Okade, a British-Nigerian mathematics prodigy who took her first British high school qualification exam at 6 years old, currently enrolled in an online college program. 12-year-old Chika Dibia Ofili, who discovered a new mathematical formula, how divisibility by 7 is made possible. He was conferred a special award in recognition of that feat. And then 12-year-old Stanitolu Adewumi, who rose to stardom at age 8 for his chess skills for clinching a New York State chess championship. And then 12-year-old Zuriel Ilis Oduole, world's youngest self-produced and self-edited filmmaker in 2014. Are you aware of the inventions of Nigerian children under the age of 16, on and off the streets? Lagos Tech Expo has curated a string of them. Amazing stuff. Imagine these listed exceptional children barred from writing exams that could give wings to their talents and gifts. Minister of Education, Tahir Maman, should consider precocious children, those gifted ones that dazzle with their brains. We need an exception clause in the Nigerian Constitution that will recognize and give them the space to contribute to humanity.
This is great, right? But the first thing I want to say about, especially when the list of kids and what they do, or what they're able to do, which Nigerian university would be able to, bring that out or expand or work on those kids to become the best version of themselves? I've always said it. If you find that your kid is special, out. Oh. I remember I used to volunteer. I used to volunteer in LME International School. I still volunteer there, and I went to a class one day. I think it was like primary 4, and a bunch of kids were just playing. And I was like, I have 100,000 there for anybody that has a great idea, right? This was like 2014, and this kid comes up and he says, I want to be able to transfer battery life from one phone to another. I don't understand when I'm playing with my iPad and the battery dies and my father's phone has 80%. How can I just transfer, just send battery life? But that's what I want to invent. I don't think Apple or Samsung were even thinking of that at that time. He's probably like 6, 7. I took him straight to the principal's office and I'm like, please, I need to see his parents. He needs to leave. After school, he needs to leave this country because he's special. So if we're saying we should have a special structure for kids like that, to go where? To go to Abeokuta University and do what?
You mean we cannot create a center for children like this?
The ones that are the school that you have, or the spaces you have, some don't have roof, some don't have chair, some don't have tables, some don't have floor. What is happening with those ones? What is the standard? And I don't even know if our curriculum is up to date to enable our children and the young ones stand shoulder to shoulder, toe to toe, compete favorably with others out there.
But this is where I differ.
Please defer.
This is where I differ.
Deferrer.
Because
He's not deferring, he differs.
Okay, I say defer, okay.
So,
Speak English, this is what we are talking about. You need a special school.
So, not everybody can afford to jackpot their kids.
I was going to make that point.
So, even though we have special children, we cannot have a situation where everybody can afford to do that. Maybe the people, at this table can do that, but the majority of parents out there cannot afford to do that.
Okay.
And I think that we tried to address that when we had the Unity schools.
Yes, I went to a Unity school, federal government girls college.
Special schools then for intelligent children. And I think that we can still have that same structure. I think that's kind of exception. That's the kind of exception we're talking about, that we should have special schools for special children that are just super intelligent. But it must be that, it cannot be that's the main regulation. Because you cannot do a regulation or law or policy for education for an exception. Okay, so you have to do it for the general populace. And I know that even in the West that we are sending them to, there's age-appropriate education.
Yes.
So they will not say because the child is special, they will force the child above the classes.
No, they won't, of course.
The child will still go through the process.
Yeah, but they will recognize.
But they will recognize the fact
that
this child can be on a fast track towards certain things. So I think what we agree completely with Farouk. I think that that there has to be some age-appropriate education for children, but we can find something for exceptional children.
Yeah, but what is that thing? That's what she's asking. What is that thing?
Aisha.
Oh, okay, if I can just come in, I think my advocacy is along the same.
Yes.
Yeah, it's similar along the same vein. The first is that we still have special schools. There are still special schools in Nigeria where no, there are quite a number of them around.
Private schools, right?
No, not private.
Public?
Public, yes.
I don't know.
No, there are. There's even one in Jigawa.
And they have like roof and chairs and tables.
No, they are quite good. I have a nephew who is actually in one of them. So they pick very brilliant
In
children.
Jigawa?
Yes, in Jigawa. That was for some. It's not just in Jigawa. Abuja, there is one in Abuja also.
I don't know.
So we still have special schools there.
Oh, wow.
And they're actually quite good. And they try to put everything, but you have to be exceptional. So the thing is this here, I totally agree with you. We have some exceptional cases. We have situations whereby some kids are extremely brilliant. Their IQs out of the world. And so there has to be, even abroad, they make cases for them. So that's where you find the 12-year-olds who have gone to university, but they're very few. My daughter entered university before she was 18 in the UK, but she had to produce results that were far more than what her older contemporaries will do. So because for them, the thing is this, if you're going to move fast, if you're going to be on that fast track, you have to be exceptional. You have to be extremely brilliant. Your IQ has to be...
It has to be worth it.
Yeah, you have to
prove it.
But when we come to my advocacy, you see what I talked about, well, situation, I understand with the ministry, the minister, but it's just in Nigeria, the way we do things is always off. We have a pandemic. Parents are rushing their children through schools.
Correct.
They are not allowing them to go through because there's this thing that we have, it's almost like a bragging right. Oh, my child finished university at the age of 13.
Can the parent rush the child?
They can. Not in Nigeria, so that's the problem.
Yes.
And there was a child that even attempted suicide. In one of the private universities. She was like 13 or 14. She was in her final year in law. Final year in law. So there's a big issue we have. So the ministry might not, the way they went through it, it's not the way it should be done, but we have a major problem in our hands.
Farouk made that point, and I made that point in my advocacy, that some parents are over-eager to prove that their children are smart. And so they rush their children through school.
I just have a question about the special school. How affordable is it? Because if you have...
It's free. Actually free. Free. You don't pay anything. The child just has to be this free. They give them,
so it's scholarships, full scholarship.
Scholarship. There's even one, another of my
backgrounds can go there if their children.
Yes, they can.
My submission now is to the education minister. He's made his points. We know that this law had been there all along.
It's not new.
But now that you have told us about the special school in Jigawa, we want to know how many of such schools do we have.
In Abuja, we have quite a number.
How many of them? Where are they?
Yes.
And what is the plan of the ministry to let us know and to let us know what is going on in the schools and where they are.
Absolutely.
Because we have to cater for our exceptional children.
We do. Yep.
Thank you. As we speak out for the least of us, we're empowering and making way for the best of us. We rise together.
Amandla.
Absolutely. If I could sing now, that song, how did they? We rise by lifting others. How did they?
Go minus.
I've always been an advocate for every citizen, great or small, exceptional or otherwise, since no Nigerian is more Nigerian than any Nigerian. Nonetheless, we must do things properly, no shortcuts. There is a trend among parents in Nigeria to get their children to finish school way before the supposed time. The current educational system that is operated in Nigeria is the 934 system of education, which has 9 years of basic and compulsory education from primary to junior secondary school 3, then 3 years of senior secondary school, followed by 4 years of university. What has become commonplace is for pupils to spend about 3 to 4 years in what should have been 6 years of primary school, and then 3 to 4 years in what should have been 6 years of both junior and senior secondary school. It therefore means instead of 12 years of education, they are now doing about 6 to 8 years in a now new competition among parents to get their children to finish school as quickly as possible. It is the new bragging right. For children who are exceptionally brilliant with high IQs, being rushed through school is a necessary process to keep up with their level of intelligence. But for the average or just brilliant child, it can be a nightmare. And many children end up not reaching the potentials they would have otherwise reached if they had been allowed to develop at a regular pace and robbed of their childhood in the process. In many countries, children start schools at a particular age and skipping classes are not allowed, except where the child is extremely brilliant. And they have to demonstrate this by getting high scores way above those older than they are. Here in Nigeria, There are no regulations, and parents decide the number of years children spend in school. Instead of the government banning students under 18 from writing the West African Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination and the National Examination Council, the focus should be on ensuring they stay the requisite years in school, getting the necessary education they need to get. A child that starts primary 1 at the age of 5 will be 17 when they are done with secondary school. So there will be no need for the law, and we can just tweak it.
Actually, 16 years, I'll start. You want to go first? Because you're raising you.
Yeah, I wanted to.
No, go ahead, go ahead. I like you, go ahead.
Okay, so I have two perspectives, and I think I also have experienced this somehow. In just as two, my dad made me repeat the class. Not because I didn't pass, but I didn't pass well enough. Right? Because it felt like you didn't do well enough for you to. I literally was promoted to the next class, but because it felt like it wasn't good enough, he made me repeat the class. I feel like if like you said in your advocacy, if not, the normal timeline is 12 years and then somebody is able to skip, how are you even able to skip it? I don't know structures in the school that make sure that they examine.
There are no.
No, they should be.
No, there are no private schools.
I think that's where it's supposed to be, where you have to examine, you have to pass a particular kind of exam for you to be promoted to the next class.
No.
If the kid is able to do that, then special kid, right? But if you're not able to do that, you can't just carry the kid and go to a school and be like, okay,
physically put them in the next class.
just like that. So I feel like the key problem here is the structure within the school. So they should make sure that they're implementing the structures properly to make sure, whether it's private school or public school, that doesn't happen. Second is just the general topic around this whole 18 years thing. I feel like the government most of the time just come out and just put policies in place without actually thinking properly or building structures that support those policies. Now, we live in a world where, okay, these kids get to finish school a little bit earlier, maybe because they are smart, right? What are they doing within that timeline before they go into university? Why can't we create a structure where we have, just like the way the Germans have it, the dual educational system, where you have to go through, once you're done with secondary school, you have to now go through a 1-year compulsory technical vocational education apprenticeship program. 1 year compulsory before you go to university. So you are able to have enough information and skills. So when you go into university, you already have an idea of what you want to do. Yeah, before university. Yeah. After secondary school, before your WAEC or after your WAEC, you go through a compulsory 1-year technical training. It's that they attach you to an apprenticeship program within the businesses, so you can actually even see how it works. That's what they do in Germany.
Internship before
So when you're going to university, you already have prepared on what you want to do with your life. But people go into university and the first 2 years they're trying to figure out what you want to do. It's the same thing with NYSC. You have to do that. Yeah. In Dubai, you have to go through the army once you're done with school. 1 year.
Everybody.
Everybody. You have to. So we need to put something in place to be able to prepare the young people. So at the end of the day, even if they're not able to get a job through university, they already have 1 year of either a technical skills that they can either start a business or work for a business.
Yes, I agree.
I agree, Bright. I agree. I agree with this, your stance. And so this is like turning the tables on the NYSC. It shouldn't be after university. It should be before. So like sort of like apprenticeship, industrial attachment kind of thing, so that you get some skills, and then it will even help you through your university.
What you want to do.
You know, I just put in here parental advisory, and like, where are you rushing the child to? Because at the end of the day, you're doing the child more harm than
That's what's happening currently.
If they do not have the basics, no understand how to be normal. I mean, they're exceptional children, yes, but there's a price to pay.
Yes, yeah.
There's a price to pay for rushing your child, and I cannot believe that the school just lets parents move their children
So let me
from class to class.
On that school
just
thing,
because.
let me just, you know, there are a lot of private schools, right? And most of them, what they're after is the school fees. Some of them don't want to lose pupils. So however you want it, and then sometimes if you don't get here, they'll just give them to go to other schools. And we have something, this private WAEC, the one that is done December. They used to do it for people.
Is that NECO?
No, even the WAEC has one. There's one you do for those who are in school, and then for those who have left school before. So what has not happened? Yes, the GC, they call it private. That's what they call it during our time. I think they still call it that way. Parents will enroll even out of school and get lesson teachers. Remember, our educational system is the kind that if you don't even need to be intelligent. All you need to be doing is dedicated, cram and pour it down. It's not the one that they're asking you to use your head, think. So if you can they force these children to go through this regimen of reading and everything.
Maybe even get them the questions.
Yes, and some of them do that, and then they cram, they just write the exams, and they're going in. Some of them are not that exceptionally brilliant children that we're talking about that have high IQs, that if you keep them, it's going to affect them.
That's why when you have conversations with them, the brain is not braining.
I think for me, my focus would be on the parents. Because you said that it's the parents literally forcing the children to go through this process.
Why should they be allowed to do that
because
even?
The parents want to have bragging rights. They want to be able to sit down and say, my daughter, she's not in university.
I've seen her, but she started that.
It's a bragging
And they're up depressed. All the kids are there being depressed.
And the thing is that
their parents are being proud.
for a parent, our reward, I tell my children, my reward for school fees is that you come back and you succeed. That's it. That's our reward. The reward is a bragging rights. My child has gone through school. So the parents really need to sit down and say, we need to stop.
And also, they shouldn't be allowed to.
They shouldn't be allowed. Yes.
They shouldn't be allowed.
They shouldn't be allowed.
But
But you see, the reason why I say that is, okay, take it for me. I mean, my own example, for instance. I finished secondary school in 1987. I was 15 years old at that time.
I finished 88.
Then we used to do the 5 years.
Yeah.
We're doing 5 years in secondary school then.
Yeah, 6-5.
6-3. No, we did 6-3-3-5. We did 6-3-3-4.
Yeah, I think they are the last of
we were the last set.
Yeah, we were the first set.
We were the last set to do the
system.
So, and I finished at 15. And I was ready to go to university because I passed my work, I done jam. And my dad said, you're too young. You must do 2 years of A-levels.
A-levels.
And I was upset. I remember I was really upset because my colleagues were already going to university. So what do I want to go and do for 2 years? A-levels. And they said, you have to go and do 2 years of A-levels. And I went to the Mercedes Boys High School then. Did the A-levels. I don't know if you know of, St. Finbar's and
St. Finbar's College, yes.
Colleges there were offering A-levels.
A-levels, yeah.
I did 2 years of A-levels before I entered university. And at the time when I entered university, I understood why my dad said, go do the 2 years. Because it's not just about the academics that makes you survive in a university. You have to be emotionally and psychologically mature.
Ready.
Because you're leaving your parents' house. There's nobody holding you back.
You should at least be well cooked.
Yeah. No,
Yinka, you flipped into my notes.
So I'm not the only one that does. I'm not the only one that
Because I was going to make the point about gap year. I made that point in my advocacy. Why? Because it prepares the children for life skills and work skills. A lot of our children are entitled nowadays. They just come and ask daddy for X amount of money and all of that. You go experience what it is like in one company.
You go make your money.
So you understand, you have that maturity that you were talking about. But then I come back to the parents. This is still corruption. Because if you want to raise your child through school and you're talking to the principal and you're influencing the principal, whichever way, you're part of the problem that Nigeria has. Secondly, the rat race. I hear that parents are now parceling their children to school and getting them off their way because they're building careers and they're looking for money. So it pays them to send this child to just keep going, just keep going, go, just get out of my way. But we need to pause and to ask ourselves, these kids that we're sending to school, when they're done, are they employable? Because we complain about unemployment.
Are they okay first before you can employ them?
So we build children who don't have the capacity to function in real work environments. So I'm still coming back to Minister Tahir Maman. Please let's look at how to build in gap year into the education system that we have.
Except we are modeling ourselves after a jungle, we must follow a system of orderliness. I repeat, no shortcuts.
Aisha, whether orderliness or even the provision of an express service all appeared to have been jettisoned in this exploited process called visa application system. Nigerians are travelers by nature. We are constantly on the move, seeking better opportunities, education, and new experiences around the world. Embassies and consulates have turned this eagerness into a profitable business. This has become a norm. And these embassies are making billions of naira annually from rejected application alone. What used to be a diplomatic service has now morphed into a profit-driven venture. A glaring example of this exploitation is the South African embassy, which has consistently denied Nigerians visa without justifiable reason. It is beyond frustrating when ordinary Nigerians who meet all requirements are denied entry. Recently, this took an even ridiculous turn when the Nigerian national basketball team was denied visas to participate in the Afro Basketball Championship in South Africa, which is a qualifying competition for FIBA World Cup. How ridiculous. This goes beyond just bureaucracy. It's a clear abuse of power and lack of respect for Nigeria and its people. This is a part of a broader pattern of how embassies are exploiting Nigerians. They charge exorbitant fees, put applicants through long, humiliating process, and still deny visa without proper reason. It's a racket, one that's becoming more obvious, more painful, and more damaging to the hopes of every Nigerian who just want the chance to explore opportunities abroad. Now, how do we fix this absolute ridiculousness? The government should demand refund for denied application and ensure embassies provide clear reason for visa rejection. Number 2, investigate visa processes of embassies with public accountability for irregularities. Number 3, establish bodies to monitor embassies' activities, handle complaints, and ensure fair treatment of Nigerian citizens. Number 4, create a dedicated office to help citizens denied visas unfairly with legal action power against embassies. This is not just about visas. It's about ensuring that Nigerians are not exploited and that our dignity as a nation is upheld. It's time for the government to take a firm stand, for citizens to speak up, and for embassies to realize that Nigeria is not a cash cow to exploit, but a nation of proud people who deserve better. Before we go into this conversation, right, I just want to state why this is happening. Now, I'm supposed to be in France on Sunday for the World Skills Competition that's happening on Tuesday. Now, this is an event that happens once in 2 years. That all about 80 countries.
When did you apply?
4 weeks ago.
Okay.
Now, people would say, oh, maybe because I didn't go through the process. I have 5 years American visa on my passport. I have 5 years UK visa on my passport, and they still rejected me.
Which country? France.
France.
They rejected you, France.
I'm telling you.
So where are you? What do you think you're running to?
I don't understand. But this tells you that it's not about the process. It's not about you not being able to meet
the requirements.
Oh, okay.
It's just scam. Straight up scam.
No,
Let me tell you something my own.
Before, I agree with number 1 totally, refund. If it's just you want to take a percentage for your paperwork and all that, but I believe the right thing to do is to refund people who their applications did not go through. Finish, just give them back their money and say, be going. Take a percentage for your paperwork, paper trail, your email, whatever administrative costs, as they say.
Yeah,
but refund. The right thing to do is refund, and you didn't give them visa. But they will deny your generation, and then keep all the money.
No reason, without any reason, no.
How fair is that? No reason.
No reason.
I was just going to go after what you had described in your, applying for visa. For me, I think sometime around 2017 or 2018, I applied for Canadian visa. And I got one long, they told me that they felt that if I go there, that I'm not going to return. Yes. But
which year was this?
I think 2017, 2018. Let me tell you the story now. That if I go, they don't think I'm going to return. But if I think I'm going to return, I should write and explain to them. Meanwhile, Canadian embassy is following me on Twitter. And you think I will go there and I will not return. I just dropped the whole app because I don't even have, I don't have the time.
God.
But it's just the way that they do it. But recently they gave me, I collected one this year, a 10-year visa. But it's just,
That's
I
one
think,
good
I
thing
think
about
I
Canada.
Yes, that's
They'll
one thing
give
about
you
them.
the validity of your passport.
As they
Schengen, 2 months, 3 months.
2 months, 3 months.
And just be running scam.
And it's not as UK owned that if you will pay
for
you get
it.
your salary, but you will pay.
Yeah.
You pay,
But you get it. At least you get
pay
it.
your corresponding application.
Even the
time.
money that
Yes.
they will do. That's always sometimes when I go to the airport and they are doing anyhow, you know when they say, especially when you are wearing hijab, they say, I will say it's my this thing that is paying this your
It's not
salary.
even hijab.
Don't
When they
even
see green
treat-
passport,
don't
the
even
face
treat me
go just
anyhow.
strong.
Change. Treating you as if you are this thing.
Jesus.
But I think I totally agree with you. And like you said, there should be like an administrative cost. It
Yes.
should be maybe $20, $30
Yeah.
that you pay, for the process. Then when you get the visa, they ask you to pay for visa fee.
Bam.
But what they're doing now is a racket.
I remember,
You don't need
Aisha,
it.
traveling as a young child. I still have my passport. I don't know if I can bring it next time. It was just a stamp on it. It wasn't, I don't even think we paid. As a small child, you didn't have all this with your picture. No picture.
That was I've been in late 70s.
I will check my passport, take a screenshot, and put
I
it
had
in
the
the group.
same, you know, I had the
It
same,
was
I had the same experience.
Yes.
I didn't
Sorry, Yinka, go
traveled late 70s
Yeah.
and I had the recollection. There was no visa. It was just stamp. That's all.
And
that shows the strength of the Nigerian passport. Unfortunately, the Nigerian passport today has no power.
It has gone down the
And I
totem
think
pole.
that it's because of that. And you experience it when you travel out of the country and you get to the passport control of any country in Europe or whatever.
You step aside. You must.
You see that if you are carrying a US passport or a Canadian passport, you go to one side, and then you are fast tracked. Nobody. Even the passport officers asking you, they will not even ask you any question. But the moment they see you, your Nigerian passport, okay, so.
No, you are under all other countries.
All other countries, first of all. Then, how long are you spending? Let's see evidence
Can we see your return ticket?
Of your return
and why
ticket,
are you here?
your hotel,
When are you leaving?
whatever. I'm very happy that you're calling out specifically the South African embassy.
No, it's France.
No, South African embassy.
South African embassy.
Those ones are moving mad.
Because you see, I mean, I have never experienced being denied visa. I've never. All the places I've applied for, nobody has ever.
Once,
you know, the only place I've been denied is South Africa, and it's so insulting. You know. It's really so insulting. South Africa, you mentioned it. We have to practice the principle of reciprocity. That's how it works. It's the same principle that the aviation minister, Festus Keyamo, used to get airpeace into Gatwick. And he's also insisting now.
Where were they landing before?
They were not landing anywhere. They were supposed to land into Heathrow. They said, no, we can't give Heathrow, we give Gatwick. So, okay, sorry. Now they have Gatwick. They're now insisting, he's now insisting that if they don't give them Heathrow, we will block BA and Virgin.
There should be reciprocity.
So the thing is that there has to be reciprocity. There's no other way to deal with it.
To be honest,
You know, and I agree with you absolutely that if you don't give visa, return the money. It's as simple as that.
Before you go in, just to correct, so I was supposed to apply for through France, but because there was no date, I had to go through Italy.
Okay.
So it was the Italian embassy. Yes, Schengen. So because it was the Italian embassy, not France, for the command.
France,
it's the Italian embassy that denied me visa.
Because I'm surprised. France is
good. Because of, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, not Italian. No, you want to go and
so it's absolutely ridiculous. Just wanted to make that correction, but please go ahead.
Sorry.
Right. So about 10 years ago as well, I was going to South Africa. And it took us running round and round and round. Even though I had all my papers, I was going in to study and all of that. I lived in South Africa for 2 years.
You lived there, even?
Yes. Yes. So, but it was difficult, even with all the papers before they could give me that visa.
What they gave you?
And yes, at the end of the day, I think South Africa as a country needs to take a break from this dissing of Nigeria.
It is dissing. It is dissing.
It is becoming ridiculous. Yeah. There is a national team going in for a championship. Like, explain to us as a nation why you denied them visa. Like they were going for a
The
championship.
kids were crying because they were like
For
under
me,
18.
I advocated
Crying. Stop, like their entire future just
Because
crushed.
I'm yet to read what Nigeria
do that to a
did
child.
in this wise. I haven't heard anything from
that's the
Abike
thing.
Dabiri. I haven't heard anything from the Foreign Affairs Minister.
Africa
We
needs to do
cannot
better with
go
its
on
borders
like this.
for its citizens. We need to do better amongst ourselves.
First is that you're denying Chidinma the right
That's a
to
people had that
compete
conversation.
somewhere. This is another one. And this thing about visas to South Africa and all these shenanigans from South Africa, there was the boat war as well.
Yeah.
This has
Which
to
they
stop.
started.
It
They
has to
started
stop. It just has to stop. And we as Nigerians, we need to know what Nigeria as a nation is doing, because, Bright, as you said, this is not just about visas. This is about the dignity
Yes.
as a nation.
And its people.
And its people, Kate. We need to know what Nigeria has to make a statement about this. This is going on for too long between South Africa and Nigeria.
Don't be tired, eh?
We either speak out for each other or stand alone. Be sure to join us again at the table, where we lend our voices to the issues that matters to all of us. Till then, it's au revoir
Bye.
from all of us.
Peace.